Good evening. What is good? How's everyone doing? Brytaypodcast is back at it again, and I have so many topics, and I'm doing my best to stick to my script of letting y'all know that I'm out here to produce nothing but the realness and present nothing but the true story. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. If you have seen the tag or if you've seen the tabs, I have everything already mentioned as to what we're going to be talking about today. But just to kind of give you a brief overview, I don't know if you heard or not, but free agency has come. It's still here. A lot of players have been moved to different teams. A lot of money has been dispersed amongst different players for different contracts. So I'm gonna break down a few of those deals that have broken. I'm gonna talk about the big deal that everybody fussed about and flailed about. Give my 2 cents on that. I kind of almost feel like that topic alone will be its own podcast, but we'll have to see. And I got a few stories about a few players in the NBA mulling retirement, possibly returning back to a team that may be beneficial to them, and suspensions due to some things that we aren't allowed to take as athletes, or athletes aren't allowed to take as part of the rules and guidelines. So I'm not going to bore y'all to death with a whole lot of foolishness and a whole lot of chaos. I'm just jump right into it. First topic of the big story is that there were a lot of players who did a lot of movement to different teams. Before right when the draft happened a few weeks ago, the big shock or the big hit was Victor Oladipo going to Oklahoma City. That kind of was a sign of what was to come, but we kind of didn't know how serious it would become until we got to the start of free agency conversation, which all started literally about a week or so ago. Matter of fact, not even a week ago. On July the 1st, as soon as the green light was given, you just saw players moving left and right, players signing new contracts. A lot of contracts were signed that some people still have questions about. Even I have questions about. Matter of fact, one of the contracts that were signed that I'm going to jump into now, because I feel like it's the big one, and I need to find the actual article. Well, not even the article, but the kind of brief breakdown of what occurred. Probably won't be able to find it the way that I want to find it, but that is okay. Let's see. It shouldn't be far. Okay. Mike Conley is balling out right now. He is getting contracts better than some professional quarterbacks in the NFL. And that says a lot. And the toughest part about it is, as this possible discussion that I'm planning on having will confirm, there are a lot of point guards in the NBA who have better resumes than his, but due to his youth and due to him being on the team that he's on, Memphis did a little bit of splurging, a little bit of spending, and just went ahead and did what they did and said, we're going to go ahead and pay our man $153 million over 5 years. Now, as far as the construction and negotiation of the deals, that's the only thing I don't have, and that's the only thing I can't give you all now because, of course, the interesting part is today is only July the 5th. Players are not actually able to sign contracts until July the 7th. And this is an interesting thing to bring up because last year, even though I didn't do a podcast, I'm going to talk about it. If any of you remember DeAndre Jordan making the decision and saying that he wanted to, quote unquote, go back home and he was going to play for Dallas, he, bargained, got a deal with Dallas, and then all of a sudden he said, no, you know what? I'm going to go back to the Clippers. And it caused quite a rift and quite a bit of tension as far as the community goes when it comes to the preference or choices that a lot of people feel like he was bad at making and not considering all options or choices or however you want to look at it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That was, like I said, that was last year. But yeah, Mike Conley signed, and That was one of the big deals, but I'm going to kind of break down a few other deals. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there were so many. Not even a few weeks after Mozgov won his championship in Cleveland, he decided to go to LA, which kind of meant that confirmed that Hibbert was moving elsewhere. And in part, Hibbert was moved. He was sent to the Charlotte Hornets. DeRozan stayed in Toronto. He got a 5-year, $139 million deal. Big props to him. Batum, they extended his contract for another 5 years. He's young, so that's kind of what that was all about. The Lakers went ahead and gave Jordan Clarkson. He got paid 4-year, $50 million deal. Hassan Whiteside, 4-year max deal. They haven't given. I don't think they had the numbers out for that deal, but they did present it. I'm not gonna go into, like I said, I don't want to break down too many of them. DJ Augustine, 4-year, $29 million. Lynn returns to New York, but instead he's going to Brooklyn for the Nets. 3-year, $36, so that was kind of a good shot for him. Beal, 5-year, nearly approaching $130 million. So that's showing you that they're investing in their backcourt, because Wall just got paid a few years ago, so you kind of saw this one coming. 3-year, $30 million deal for Al Jefferson, goes to the Pacers. And Drummond, I knew his was coming because I was waiting to see how they were going to work with him on getting a deal, especially with Reggie Jackson getting paid last year. So Drummond got 5-year, $130 million range on his deal with Detroit. Let's see who else got some money. Eric Turner went to the Blazers. Chandler Parsons kind of saw this one coming. He went to the Grizzlies. He was not really satisfied in Dallas. He's still trying to find. I think he's still trying to find his niche as far as the league goes. That's just my opinion. So, I mean, as I always say all the time, you're gonna have to keep your eye on that story and just see how it pans out. Let's see, Solomon Hill, who's kind of been just lingering around the league. He went to the Pelicans. Pelicans had to bring in some players because they got rid of a few players. Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon both went to the Rockets, which I'm not even going to get into that whole story. Dellavedova signed the offer sheet for the Bucks. Of course, the Cavs do have the option of matching that deal, so we'll see what happens. Big shocker. Thank the Lord he's gone. Dwight Howard went to Atlanta for 3 years, $70.5 million. I mentioned earlier about Mike Conley. Green, Jeff Green he's been kind of trailblazing a lot on the low too, because he was with the Grizzlies, he was with the Celtics, he's been with so many teams, but I think his recent location was the Clippers. He's been with quite a few teams. The Thunder. Yeah, like I said, they got him listed for a lot of teams, but he is going to Orlando on a 1-year, $15 million contract. I'm not going to really break down all these deals because there's so many. Kent Bazemore stayed with the Hawks. Noah went to New York, so he's going to join Rose. Joe Johnson, he got picked up by Utah. That was, it is what it is. Kind of going through all the BS crazy calls that was made. Bismack Biyombo, he was known in the Toronto series with playing against Miami because he was kind of a big force as far as a big man. He went to Orlando as well. So they kind of got some, they kind of spaced out a little cap room as far as letting Oladipo go. Because, for to be able to pick up some of these guys they got. Let's see. Horford, big shocker, but not really. He went to Boston. As soon as they had made the announcement that Courtney Lee was going to the Knicks, they swore up and down that, okay, the Knicks are a lock for the playoffs, or they're a lock to give Cleveland fits in the finals. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see the chemistry and see what happens first, and then kind of go from there. All right, so all of these transactions happened. Like I said, a lot of players went to different teams. Crawford stayed with the Clips. Sorry. In the absence of Rose going to New York, Rondo ended up getting his opportunity in Chicago. He's got a 2-year deal. Keep an eye on some of these deals, and I'm going to tell you why in a second, because it's going to lead to my big story. Barnes goes back to Sacramento. It's been Lord knows how long. And Deron Williams, one of the top point guards at one time. Sorry. That was like very relevant. He returned back to Dallas, get a 1-year, $10 million deal. Jennings went to the Knicks. That was even more confirmation that this is our time to shine. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Let's see. Hibbert, I mentioned earlier, he's going to the Hornets. Seth Curry going to Dallas. Pau Gasol was confirmed he was going to the Spurs. 4th of July rolls around, and all the conversation during this entire weekend, let me get a little comfortable. All the conversation around this entire weekend was about what was Kevin Durant going to do. Kevin Durant had conversations with Golden State, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Boston. There were 6 teams in the running who were trying to get Kevin Durant. Some people call it he's sleeping with the enemy. Some people call it if you can't beat him, join him. I call it you trying to win just like anybody else. Kevin Durant signed a 2-year, $54.3 million contract with the Golden State Warriors. Now, I'm going to talk about this deal, and I'm going to tell you why. And they actually mentioned that in this article. The deal will include a player option after his first year. Here's why this is important. If you really understand and know basketball, you'll realize that there's a change coming next year. They've already presented what the new bargaining agreement is going to be, and I'm mad because I usually would have this up. I should have this up now, and I'm going to get it really, really, really quick because it's going to be very relevant to what they're looking for the new salary caps to be next year. All right, here we go. Thank you. I knew I was going to get quick enough to get it. So the salary cap for next season, because that's going to be when the new collective bargaining begins, is going to be $94.1 million. The tax level, as far as the luxury tax, is going to be 113. So if you go past 113, that's when you get penalized as a team. That's going to be a huge deal for a lot of teams to work on trying to get money to do whatever it is they're trying to do coming into, and I'm sorry, the 94.1 is the salary cap this year, and the luxury tax is 113. So here's what I'm getting at, because I'm kind of fluffing and blubbing, but here's where I'm going. Kevin Durant is going to make it his goal to sign at least a 1-year deal. He had to play 1 year for somebody. The reason why is because the following year, he can get offered a max contract to possibly get $200 million. And he talked about this before Golden State and Cleveland even got to Game 7. So just pay attention to what's going on with the game. Like, LeBron is waiting for his max contract. LeBron has been trying to get a max contract for a while. Like, he's gotten paid. He's got endorsements. He's been balling out and been getting paid and getting money. I got money. Do what you do. But he was really putting his hands together and hoping for the big one. And I think it's time. They've been holding out long enough. Time to pay the man, pay the brother. It's likely. I mean, they've said that he's technically speaking, he's still a free agent this year. I would not be surprised if he re-signs with Cleveland. He'll probably re-sign a 1-year deal just so he can see what the market offers him beyond Cleveland, but also to see how much more money he can get as a player. So keep your eyes on that. Just something to think about, something to kind of give you a little perspective and just understand what's coming up or what's coming down the pike as far as with the chaos and madness known as free agency. Let's see. Everybody feel like David West slept with the enemy too, because he's with San Antonio. He's at the end of his career. He's trying to get a championship. So what did he decide to do? He joined Golden State as well. He wasn't considered as selling out, but Durant is. Not gonna get into that story because I'll kind of go on a tangent again. Dirk agreed to a two-year deal, looking to possibly be playing until the age of 40, which is remarkable. Have to see how that all goes. And let's see. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody important. I think we got everybody. Dwayne Wade is still in talks. It was coincidental because he was mocking Durant for his move, but he still hasn't solidified his home in Miami just yet. Something to think about. Luol Deng, it's 11 o'clock. Thank you. He's no longer with Miami. I forgot what team picked him up, but I don't consider him a big pickup, and I don't know. I'm not. I guess it's one of those things. If you're a fan of his, then you're a fan of his, but it's kind of like pick and choose with Luol Deng. Let's see. Let me make sure I can do it correct. Yeah, Luol Deng picked up a deal with the Lakers. He's going to get more time. He'll get the green light to score. I mean, the toughest thing is he's kind of going to be a role player. So, just kind of have to see how that pans out. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Bogut's possibly going to the Mavs. Barnes is possibly going to the Mavs. Stephen Curry's brother, Seth, going to the Mavs. Mentioned Hibbert already. So those are my main gist of stories that I have as far as a free agency tracker. I wanted to throw everything out there and at least get my 2 cents about Durant. I mean, Durant is doing what he needs to do to get a ring because it's tough to have a lot of hardware and, MVPs and all-star MVPs or all-star appearances or finals appearances, but no championships. So it's like it defeated the whole purpose of you going out there and doing what you're trying to do. Sorry. If you can hear me, cool. If not, we already know why. It happens every time. All right, so again, my other stories kind of spread out, and I'm going to kind of jump around with it and just let it do what it does. First story, OJ Mayo was suspended by the NBA for 2 years due to violating the anti-drug program. He was taking, and I want to make sure I get this correct, he was taking DHEA, which is dehydropiandrosterone. It's pretty much it was something he was tested for before, and he failed to test then, and they suspended him 10 games. So it's been a rocky road for him with this, and I can tell that I think he needs to give it up as far as playing basketball. His career has not gone the direction or the way he's expected it to. He gave a response to the finding and saying, "I didn't know the drink had any bad substances in it, and it caused a 10-game suspension. It's not like I went to a GNC and got some muscle armor or ordered some supplement off the internet or anything. It was just a local gas station that kind of got me hemmed up." It's tough for him, and I think it's just kind of a tough situation to be put in. But anyway, I think, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm kind of giving a little bit of quiet and white noise to this story, and I'm gonna tell you why. When OJ Mayo came out of Oak Hill Academy, and there was talk of him going, one and done, or where he was gonna go, or what he was gonna do, it was already a rough battle for him because he went to USC. He went to USC illegally. There was a lot of allegations with that. It affected USC scholarships. He got to the NBA, and he just couldn't get it right. Like he was, I don't know, certain players go to certain teams and they work, and then they go to other teams, and it's like, what changed? And that's the same thing I say with him, like truly and honestly, what changed? So, I mean, Milwaukee, it's like pick and choose. I mean, we did see a few seasons ago, Larry Sanders, he's still trying to recover himself through a lot of personal, mental anguish and stress and things of that sort. But Just have to really sit and wonder what goes on in these guys' heads. So there's that story. Tim Duncan is close to retirement. He's not sure what he wants to do yet. He's been in the league for only 19 years. So, I mean, it's either I play one more year, kind of teach some guys around me. Because, I mean, he has players around him who are willing to learn. Gasol willing to learn. Aldridge actually had a blossoming season thanks to playing for the Spurs. David West was kind of a role player. He really didn't fit the rotation of Popovich. So him going to Golden State made sense. He might be able to get more touches, I guess, in Golden State. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, Tim Duncan is considering retirement. And I would not be surprised if he did. I mean, he's 5-time champion, 3-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, 2-time regular MVP. Not to disregard the multiple All-Star appearances, let alone starts in the NBA for the All-Star game. And, I mean, this isn't the Tim Duncan we seen when he first came in and pretty much scooped up his first championship in like a few years. Father Time wins every time. We all know that. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that story as I get more information or as more things are presented. We'll turn it into a discussion. Now my final topic, and I'm kind of gonna do a mini plug afterward, is that there's a possibility of Lance Stephenson trying to return back to the Pacers. I'm not going to let this take up a lot of time on the podcast because I'm trying to work on something new, and so far I'm kind of close to my goal. So we'll see what happens. But Lance Stephenson, from the time he left Indiana, has been trying to find his career. He's been trying to find himself. He went to Charlotte. They paid him. He wasn't worth it. He went to the Clippers. He didn't fit the rotation. He's been in Memphis. He was very quiet. He really hasn't found that niche to get his game off the ground. Part of that fail, in my personal opinion, was he was one of the victims of the one and done rule. And I know I talk about the one and done rule a lot, but for some players, it's what they got to do. For some, they look at it as one and done is, okay, I'm going to take this 1 year and I'm out. I'm going pro. I'm going to hop into the NBA and I'm going to get on the team and get money. And then what happens is they pretty much fall into the trap of trying to find and make a name for themselves in sports, period. And the truth of it is, it's not as easy as it looks. And we sometimes don't see that as fans or as viewers of the game. I hope he gets the deal. I hope they pull something off to get him there. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll see how it goes. So there's that story. And those are all my sports topics. So that's everything I'm going to talk about from my personal discussions about the, basically, this was kind of like a basketball-based podcast. I mentioned to a few of my friends, and I'll kind of let everyone know now, you will start to hear more NFL-oriented conversations by the end of July, early August, once preseason starts, once you kind of get some stories brewing about NFL. But right now, I'm kind of capping off basketball. I'm going to get some information, get some stats, some numbers from the NBA Summer Leagues, because there's been quite a few games. Ben Simmons had a pretty good opening performance. Of course, it was against the John and Jane Does of teams, but it is what it is. So I have that story. This is kind of my personal plug. I was supposed to have written this, but thanks to being an improv master like I am, along with the fact that I have a likelihood of listening to this podcast along with writing up a blog as well, I am in search of a co-host. First question a lot of people are going to ask, well, what are you looking for in a co-host, Brian? Like, what do you need to do to be a co-host in this podcast? Well, I'm glad you asked. What I am personally looking for is someone who has energy and is dedicated to putting in the time and effort to research and challenge and be open to discussion and not shut down on topics. I'm not sitting here saying I need you to talk about every single topic that I have on my show. I want someone who also can bring topics to the show. My biggest thing and my primary thing that I look for from this podcast is energy. And I'll be clear and clean and transparent in admitting there are some days that you may not feel a sense there's a lot of energy. And it's not that the energy is not there. It's that I'm doing a podcast either at an odd time of the day, or in this case, I'm doing it super late. So when you do a late podcast, you kind of got to take and give and take, but you never really can tell unless it's being told like I just told. So those things need to be taken into account. I am willing to meet people wherever to do episodes, preferably quiet, serene locations. I don't see it as being an issue to use my place as a location to do podcasts. I just want somebody who has energy and has passion to talk about topics. And I've kind of mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it now. My podcast is not only going to be about sports. So far, this podcast has been about sports because that's been kind of what I steered it towards the direction of. But my plan is to implement different topics in, and I already have friends who I've been talking to do interviews, and I've said it multiple times on different episodes, but I am going to be doing those and actually picking up my laptop, taking my microphone, and getting it in and just talking about different thoughts and topics and issues that are going on. So I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast here. If you are following, I am on Spreaker under brytaypodcast. I do have these posted on iTunes. I need to get the link because every time I get the link, I always forget because it is such a long and unique link, but it works. So, give me 1 second. I'm sorry, because like I said, it's a new link for me, so I'm still having to remember. Well, if you want to go check it out, it's under da 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 da. But the link for the podcast is itunes.apple.com/us/podcast/Bryan-Taylor BRYN-TAYLOR/ID 11299399263, and you can go back and rewind if you need to hear what it is or how it sounds, and you'll be able to see all of the podcasts I've done under this channel that have gone live, along with you'll start to see episodes I've done in the past slowly be posted. So I'm going to end this here. A little bit of a longer ending than I expected. Again, do not judge people for what they have or have not done, and also take into account, and I've said this numerous times, just like players in the NBA or in the NFL make decisions to get traded or choose to go to a different team, it's no different than you and I choosing to go to a new job. You may say, oh, they're totally different, but that's false. It's the same exact process. So just something I need folks to think about, open their mind, wake up their brain. And on that note, until next time, BT signing out. Peace.